On your talk show,
Yes,
you had Charlton
I
Heston.
did.
And I think you told him you had a crush on him.
No, I asked him about a very particular story in The Omega Man, which he's in with Anthony Zerbe and Rosalind Cash.
Yes.
They have a kiss. Rosalind has a kiss with him. And I said, how hard was that? Because they apparently got a lot of grief. They were asked to take it out of the film. I mean, people really gave them a hard time because it was an interracial kiss. Neither one of them, as you may know, went up in flames. But I guess that's what people were afraid of. But he said it was one of the hardest experiences he'd ever had because he wasn't anticipating the reaction people gave to him. I said, so it was really weird? And he said, it was really weird. I said, how weird was it, really? How did you feel? And he started to lean in, and I thought, what is he doing? Oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. He kissed me. And I thought, now that was weird. That was weird. I'm not going to lie. But I had the same wonderful experience with Charles Schultz because the first tattoo I ever got was a Woodstock. And he was this big when I got him.
Yeah.
Now he's still But I said to him, I said to Charles, I said, you know, I have Woodstock. He said, I heard. So I showed it to him. And he said, would you like me to sign that for you? I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. I didn't know what to do. I know he was being funny, but I was like, you're Charles Schultz. What are you doing? I mean, yeah, really strange and wonderful experiences with really amazing people that I really admired as a kid and always thought I'd be friendly with or could be friends with, you know. And some of them, it turned out I got to be friends with them, and which I love.
Well, you've always been a fan, too. I mean, you grew up watching movies. You grew up here. You grew up watching the 4:30 movie and the $1 million movie like us.
Yes.
And when
and
you
the
would,
early show, do you
Sure,
remember?
sure.
Oh, my
we
God.
talk about it all the time.
That would have the drawing of the buildings,
Right.
Yes.
and the lights would go on one by one.
Yes.
And Tara's theme on the $1 Million movie.
Yes. My God.
But when you started getting...
Wait. You remember Zachary?
Oh,
of course,
yeah,
he just passed.
he died
I know.
recently.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Rest in peace, Zachary.
Yes. Or he may be back. You never know.
Let's hope.
You never know.
But I found it interesting too in my research. You would go to these events and bring your autograph book. You weren't shy about it. Hey, I'm meeting Jimmy Stewart and I'm meeting Burt Lancaster.
Well, because
and I'm gonna
for me,
soak this up.
Listen, I'm from the projects. I didn't look like anybody who should be in the position I was in. I heard it enough from people. It's like, how did you get to be here? And that's what people would say to me, and I'd say, well, Mike Nichols, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. But people would say stuff to me that was kind of like, how is it that it's you? Why you? And I kind of felt a little uncomfortable with it. And then I just thought, it doesn't matter. I'm going to meet these people. I'm going to tell them that I love them. I'm going to tell them that they were meaningful because I've been a kid I'm not a big sleeper. I wasn't a sleeper when I was a kid. So I got to watch all these old movies because my mother would be like, look, don't move from this room. So I would watch movie after movie after movie and have a great time. So the idea of coming down the stairs the way that Jean Harlow came down, nobody told me I couldn't. Nobody said that's not for you. So my mother never said, oh, no. She just said, if you want to do it, you got to go get it. You got to go earn it. And so it never occurred to me I couldn't until I got famous and people started saying, you can't do that. Don't you know you're black? I was like, yeah, I've been black the whole time. I've always known. It only seems to be surprising to you. And that's how I've spent, I spent a lot of my career just trying to understand what people were trying to explain to me, where they'd say, well, whoop. If you were to, we're going to take the romance scene out of this because it just doesn't feel organic. It's like, really? Because I would bone him. He would bone me. I feel we could act that. So, and you're just going to take it out? Yeah, we don't think it furthers the film. Only to find out that they were nervous because they didn't find me. What the man said? He said, "You have no." Can I really say?
Oh,
Yes!
go for it.
Jesus Christ.
Him too.
You could say blowjob.
Well, that wasn't it.
No.
Wasn't the blowjob. No, the man said to me that you have no fuckability factor.
Gilbert's heard that too.
You know? And how many children do you have? Okay? And so when
Two.
when
I
you
have
hear
two
that-
kids. That means somebody fucked me twice. Yeah. That's-
Well, once to prepare, and then twice to... Sorry. I love you, Dara. But
Dara.
this idea that someone didn't think I was cute enough to be in a scene that was written in the movie that I was doing. They felt it was important to take it out because they didn't think people would believe it. And meanwhile now, I'm working like a little squirrel everywhere. Thank you. You know, and I'm like, okay, I understand. I guess you wouldn't do me. That's what that really means. Is I'm not that for you. So you're assuming that's for everyone. As it turns out, it wasn't for everyone.
And now would you say you owe your career to Mike Nichols?
A great part of it, yeah, absolutely. To Mike Nichols and to Steven Spielberg and to the guys and women I worked with in Berkeley, California, and to the people I worked with in San Diego, California. You know, yeah, I owe my career to lots of different people because I got a lot of help from folks. People who said, hey, let's play like this, or let's do this, or you're good at this. Come on and come play with us. So, yeah, listen... This was one of the luckiest stumbles a person could have. Someone offered me a career on a silver platter, and I took it because I didn't know if it would ever come around again. And as it turns out, thank God, I'm not bad. Not bad. Yeah.
So Spook was the show that you did that came to New
Spook
York.
Show.
The
Yeah.
Spook Show.
Yeah.
Came to New York, and
Yeah.
then it went through some changes, and that's where Mike Nichols saw you. And,
Yes.
And it went through a name change.
Yeah.
But it was essentially that show before being retooled.
Yeah, and I wrote that show so that I could get parts.
Right.
And
Very smart.
well, I mean, when people say to you, well, there's, you know, this is for the nurse in Romeo and Juliet. And you go, okay, yeah, I know what it's for. And they go, whoop. We're not really seeing you in this part. But there are some other parts, you know, you could perhaps play, but not this. And I heard that so often, I thought, wait, let me show people what I can do, because I think they just think I don't think they realize I can actually read. You know, so so I wrote these characters so that people would see that I understood how to perform and how to make it worth watching. And it worked out because nobody knew what the pieces were that I was doing. So they didn't know if I was making it up. They had no idea. I'd come in and say, well, I'm going to do this piece from The Girl Ran Away, a play by June Johnson. So, June Johnson. Oh, good, June Johnson. And I'd do some piece I wrote, and they'd go, wow, that's really great. What's the name of that play? And I would forget and say, I just had to look it up. I don't remember. That's what it was from. That was all it was. It was me making stuff up to get work. Plain and simple.
And Mike Nichols saw something, and he said, there's
He
a
liked
Broadway
it.
show here.
Well, he came when I got an invitation to come and do the show at DTW, at Dance Theater Workshop downtown. And they were doing, you know, monologue shows. So I was part of a series. And the first 3 days, it was like one guy wandered in, looked around, didn't see anybody left. So I just waited for people to come. So the first couple of days, I was like, this is not going to work for me. Very sad. And then Barbara Barry came.
Barbara Barry.
Yes.
Wow. From Barney Miller.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And One Potato, Two Potato.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
a great movie. And the next night, Bette Midler came. And people started just sort of wandering in. There'd be 8 people or 6 people some nights, and 9 people the other night, and then 12, like a whole dozen. And the night of the whole dozen, there was a man in the audience called Mel Gussow, who used to write for the New York Times.
Yeah.
And he wrote a review that if I had been living with him, it could not have been any better. You know what I mean? I mean, it was unbelievable. And I had no idea he was, I didn't know who he was. And my mother said, can I show you something? And I was like, sure. She said, you've been reviewed in the New York Times. I said, oh, is that good or bad? She said, I think you might want to read this. And what he wrote was so great that afternoon, we sold out the whole run. And people started coming. And then my mother came in, and because my mom was great, because DTW is on 17th Street. I grew up on 26th and 10th. So my mom, she would come to every show and she'd say, now, I don't want you to be uncomfortable, but Mike Nichols is in the audience tonight. I said, okay. All right. You sure? She said, yes. I saw him. I said, don't tell me where he is. She said, but I will tell you he's white. This was her way of making me laugh. So I go out, I do my show, and it's great, and I go back, and he was doing Hurly Burly at the time. He was doing Hurly Burly and The Real Thing simultaneously. And what else was happening on Broadway? Dustin Hoffman was doing Death of a Salesman. So all of this is happening in '84 on Broadway. But he's doing amazing stuff. And he did Virginia Woolf. And he did The Gret. And I wanted to be in a Mike Nichols movie. I just like, whatever you're doing, if you're here, I want to be in a movie. So the door knocks, and this man comes in, and he's weeping. And my mother said, that's him. I said, hi. He said, I just want you to know, Ms. Goldberg, that I was on the last boat out of Nazi Germany. Yes, and when you did the Anne Frank piece, it moved me. So I wonder, would you ever want to do this on Broadway? And I was like, sure. Yeah, sure. So he said, I'll be in touch. And I thought, okay, see you, Mike. So I finished the run, and I go back to Berkeley, where I'm living, and my phone rings. And I pick it up, and I hear, Ms. Goldberg. And I said, who is this? He says, this is Mr. Nichols. I was like, hey, what's up? He said, you remember we had a discussion about coming to New York? I said, yeah. He said, well, do you want to finish the discussion? I'd like to find a theater for you. I thought you were bullshitting. I haven't given this any more thought. I thought you were kidding. He said, no, I'm not. And so he said, if you leave it to me, I will find us a theater. And he said, now, are you going to be comfortable? I said, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's Broadway. He said, what's the problem? I said, well, sometimes I suck. And he said, well, you can suck every other week if you want. It's not going to change the fact that this should be on Broadway. and I'm going to present it. Can I help you with it? I said, whatever you want to do, man, whatever you want to do. And so when I got here and started rehearsing, he would sit in the middle of this theater in the dark, like you see in the movies, and you'd suddenly hear, and so I'd be working my soul out, just acting my ass off, and he'd be like, Ms. Goldberg. I'm like, yes, Mr. Nichols? He said, was there an end to that story? Or are you just talking on? And I was like, well, I think there might have been an end to the story. He said, well, if you listen to what you're doing, you would have heard the end, because you passed it. And he was right. Because I wasn't listening. I was just doing it because I just thought if I could just get it done, it'll be okay. And he just said, no, you have to slow down. You have to listen to what you want me to listen. You have to listen to what you're doing. And so for me, it was the first time somebody said, oh, I want to hear what you're saying. So you need to draw me in. And it was wonderful because he was right, and it's what I wanted. And he made me so much better. You know, he just made me such a better actor. And then to Spielberg, you know, who says, hey, I got an agent. And he called the agent and said, I can't get to New York. Can she come and do the show she's doing on Broadway? Because I think I'm doing The Color Purple, and I want to see her. So I said, he's doing what? He's doing The Color Purple? Oh, so he wants to see me? What does he want to see me for? My agent was like, The Color Purple, maybe. I was like, oh, because I'd written to Alice Walker saying, listen, you're brilliant, this is brilliant. My daughter and I were listening to it in our van, and we pulled over because I was supposed to buy her a pair of shoes. And we loved hearing Alice do the story on our local radio, that she said, can we get the book instead? Can we buy the book? I said, I promise you, we will get your shoes. But if you like this book, let's get this book and you can read it to me. She said, okay. And so that's what we did. So I wrote a letter to Alice, and then I came and did all my stuff, and then got this call saying, oh, you should go see Spielberg. Because I'm thinking, oh, maybe I could be in, what is the thing?
Did you have an E.T. bit that you did for him?
Yes, I did.
Yeah?
Yes, I did.
You want to tell us what it was?
I will tell you. So the agents say to me, do not do the E.T. thing. Because it is, it's sacrilegious. This is his piece, and don't do it. I was like, okay, I won't do it. So I do the thing. I'm behind the curtain, and I look out, and I see Michael Jackson. I see Quincy Jones. I see Ashford and Simpson. I see all these people, and I'm thinking, oh, fuck. So I go out and I do the show, and they're on the floor. They're laughing, they're loving it. And then they say more at the end. They said more. I did not say, do you want some more? They said more. I said, okay, I should tell you I have one more piece, but it might be weird because I've been asked not to do it. So Stephen says, why did they ask you not to? I said, because it has to do with E.T. He says, I want to see it. And it was called Bleety. And it was about what would happen if E.T. landed in Oakland. Instead of the neighborhoods, because in Oakland, the phones don't work. You can't phone home. So he meets these kids, and he starts to hang around. He gets a jerry curl. He starts running women. He gets a pimp suit, powder blue with heels because he's short. And he gets guns. And so he's running women when his people come back to get him. And he shoots them up because he doesn't recognize that they are him. And it's all about what happens when you're so absorbed by a culture that you forget your own. And that was the whole point of it. So it was good. It was really good. Listen, I used to be very smart. And so I do it for him, and he is on the floor. He's left, and I'm thinking, this was maybe a bad move. I think this went too well. And he said, so what made you write that? And I said, because I never saw any kids in the neighborhoods that I see in your movies who might have had this experience. Because all kids want something magical to happen in their neighborhood. But I never see it. And he said, it's good to know. So he said, I think I'm directing this movie, Color Purple. I said, oh, yeah, I know this book. He said, I know. You wrote a letter to Alice Walker. You told her you'd be dirt on the floor if they made the movie. She sent it to me. And she said, I should see you because she used to go see you all the time. I had no idea. So she had sent all my material to him before I went to do the show on Broadway. So it was kind of it's magic. This is why I say I have the luckiest career because it just all kind of fell into place.
You say movie stardom is a fluke, and you're a fluke.
I am a fluke. But I'm okay with it because I know it. That's why I have 99% of the time I'm having a really good time because I know how lucky I am. The other 1%, I'm just being an angry bitch. I don't know what else to say, but that's the truth.
And what did you learn working with Spielberg?
I learned everything about movies. And what I learned more than anything was that in this lens, there are folks who are mute. So even though I can't hear them, they are there and they're watching. And so I'm performing for them. So that was a great thing. And he and I are film freaks. So he would direct me this way because I'm one of those people that I can understand the essence of something if you can give me something to hang it on. So he would say, do you remember that scene when Boo Radley is revealed the first time behind the door when Scout says, hey, Boo? And she moves the door, and there's Robert Duvall.
Your favorite movie.
Oh, I love this movie. I said, yeah, I know that. He said, that's the feel I want. I want the feel when Scout first sees him, that love that she has for him, that is when she says, hey, Boo, that's what I want to feel. So I was like, okay, I can do that. And that's how he directed me. And that's how most people have directed me because I understand that.
It's great that you have that language, that common language, that
Yeah.
you know all these scenes from movies.
I do. It's weird, but movies, if you didn't read, because I didn't read till quite late, because I'm dyslexic. And so there wasn't a word for it. They just called you slow or put you in the slow class. But I could remember everything. I saw everything in motion, so I got it. But, and as it turns out, Stephen is also dyslexic.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was kind of a wonderful conversation because it was all about the visual. So it was fun for me.
Gil, tell Whoopi the story of David Steinberg.
Oh,
directing
okay.
you. I think she'd appreciate it.
First, there's one other story I remembered. I was being directed in the movie, and the director was saying to me, he goes, I want you to kind of just smile at this point, but he goes, but not a happy smile, a more suspicious, like grin that you're thinking of something. And I couldn't figure out what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah.
And this other character actor who was in the scene with me leans in and goes, Richard Lou. And I knew exactly.
You knew exactly.
Richard
Dick
Lou.
Cavett again.
Yeah, I mean, it's extraordinary because people don't realize that as artists, we watch everything. We've seen lots and lots of folks, so that if you speak to us in a way that is meaningful, that says, you know this, let's work from here, it just makes life so much easier.
And what Frank was saying is, this is a good one. One time I was being directed by David Steinberg, and he said to me, he goes, now after you get through sing this last line, I want you to run off. And so I ran off, and he goes, can you run more gracefully? And I said, I guess so. And he goes, no, but not gracefully, maybe faster. And I said, yeah, I guess I could run. And he goes, no, not faster, really, but, more even, not so choppy. And at that point, I threw my hands up, and he just shrugged his shoulder, and he goes, can you run less Jewish?
I love that one. So as we run short on time, we have a little surprise clip.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And this is something you were both intimately involved with. Let's show the clip in the interest of time. We're going to change tones here a little bit. Patrick, can we dim the lights and run this thing? This is a moment in Whoopi's history and the man sitting next to me. Take a look. Hopefully we have it.
We're going for a 5-square win here.
Oh, God.
Gilbert got it for the win.
In a poll, 94% of Hungarians, compared to only 46% of Americans, said doing this was necessary to feel fulfilled. Doing what?
Having a child. I disagree. You fool!
When she heard that Phileas Fogg had done it in 80 days, journalist Nellie Bly beat him by doing it in 72 days. What did she do?
This is rowing the Atlantic.
Unagreed.
You fool!
Its French designer named it the Atom because of its small size and the explosive effect a woman would have when she wore it. Today it's better known as...
The tube top. I agree. You fool!
What significance does 1908 have if you're a Chicago Cubs fan?
It's the last perfect pitch game.
Unagreed. Steve Austin is a big man professional wrestler fully known as...
The Crusher.
The Crusher.
I'll agree.
All right, Officer Dave. You ever got me for the win? By the way, if we run out of time during this radio game, we're all going out for drinks. The word smog comes from what two words?
Smoke and fog.
Smoke and fog. I'm going to agree.
Smoke and fog!
We look like babies.
Oh, my God.
Like little babies.
Okay.
One day when we were doing the introductions, I think I told that story today.
Yeah.
Because Tom Bergeron was on our show today. And people would come out and you say, and there's so and so and so and so, and they'd come out and they'd, hey, so and so, and then Brad Garrett. Do you remember?
Oh.
With Vern Troyer. Brad Garrett comes running out and he's holding Vern Troyer. And he says, I would like to thank the Academy. It was 20 minutes before we could get ourselves together. We had such a good time on that show.
That was
We had
a lot of fun.
great time on that show.
Great show.
Yeah, it was a great show.
You know what I remember? And this was what gets me. When I was a kid, I would watch Hollywood, the original Hollywood
Right.
Squares, and I would laugh and enjoy it. But I always thought, this is when someone's at the bottom rung
Right.
in show business. That I'll never
Right.
be. And then God was listening and put me on, and I had the greatest time.
Yeah, because it was just about having fun. We just wanted to have a good time. And, I was, in a funny way, I just was tired of making the movies because I just felt like I couldn't find my footing anymore. So I thought, well, maybe I can do this, So I did Hollywood Squares, and I just thought, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is what it's supposed to be when you go to work. You're supposed to have a good time. We worked on the weekends. So we were all in L.A. shooting, actually, when 9/11 happened. We had just finished the show, and people were getting ready to scatter back. But I just remember that it was like family. We ate well, we laughed well, and I don't think I've had as much fun since.
And I remember, too, it's like when I watch reruns
Yeah.
of where everybody's laughing and
Yeah.
kidding each other,
Yeah.
and I thought, all of that's real.
Yeah.
We were really doing that. We
Yeah.
were really having a fun time.
Yeah.
It's refreshing.
Thank you, baby.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, we were.
So we got about 15 minutes left. You want to take some questions from these nice
Sure,
people?
sure.
Mr. Gottfried? Questions for Shenzi and
There's
Iago?
a man. There's a man.
Cliff Nesteroff, author of this terrific book.
Sure. Moms, for me, the two women that I adored, Toady Fields and Moms Mabley, as a kid growing up. And Toady looked like no one else. She was like a little round lady, but funny.
Yeah.
Like funny, hold your stomach funny. And then she got ill and lost a leg.
Yeah.
And this woman got up on the stage and was still like drop dead funny till the last second. And Mom's was the same way, but different. She would say something that, she told a story on Mike Douglas once where she had been down south and she was in Texas and she had been very happy to be there because people treated her really well. And she said, yeah, everywhere I went, people were greeting me. They just everywhere I went. She said, hi, Trigger. Hi, Trigger. At least that's what I think they said. And
Yeah.
she had this ability to tell these stories that you thought were not true. But as it turns out, she actually did travel with the Kennedys.
Oh, yeah.
She did a lot of the things that she talked about. And her in Sing Sing is one of the funniest.
She used to
Sing
do that
Sing,
every year?
Every
Play
year.
for the prisoners?
She only missed 1 year because she was really sick. But she would just talk about stuff that people weren't talking about, And for me, my favorite thing of her was the simplest joke, which I was not allowed to tell up until about 1995. I wasn't allowed to do it on the comedy show that George Slaughter used to do. And the joke is this. I'll do it as her voice. Two old ladies walking down the street. One turned to the other one and said, I smell hair burning. The other one said, maybe we're walking too fast.
It's in the documentary. Yeah.
Wasn't allowed to tell that joke.
No.
Now,
Risque,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
here's a memory I
Okay.
have of, Mums Mabley seemed like she'd be on Merv Griffin every
All the
other
time.
night.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember this from when I was a kid, and I can't find it anywhere. I can't find anywhere. I remember her singing, going, well, he couldn't read and he couldn't write, but he was nobody's fool.
Yes.
That's why he could never be the shamus of the shul.
I will find that for you.
Okay.
I will find that for you.
You know what he's referring to.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
We should plug the doc. It's fantastic. It's on HBO
Oh,
on
it's
demand.
yeah,
and it's just
it's
terrific.
a
If you
couple
guys
years
haven't seen it
old.
and
Yeah.
anybody remembers Moms Mabley.
Yeah.
And the scene where she sings, it gets up at the Playboy Mansion, and
Well,
she
I
sings
mean, the whole
Abraham Martin
thing,
and John. Tear your heart
it's the Candyman.
Sammy's there.
Sammy Davis Jr. is there at at Playboy After Dark, and Paul Mooney is in the back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't know
And
that.
when you look at it, it's Paul looking like a 4-year-old, but it's him. And there's someone else there. And he says to her, will you sing that song? Sammy says it to Moms.
Yeah.
Will you sing that song? And she does a version of Abraham Martin and John that just will crush you. It's stunning and has as much impact when you hear it, because you see people are sitting there and you you look at this audience and you're like, wow. Because there's guys with afros, this is when we first were talking about integration. So there were, black people sitting next to white people, black men sitting next to white women.
Well, it's always a progressive show.
Well,
Playboy
it was a
After Dark.
great show. And when you look at all the people who came through it, and she was one of the first, because she started in 25.
Yeah.
So really, she's the first stand-up. She's the first stand-up. Because I can't find any man prior to that did stand-up comedy. She's the first one. And so the fact that also she was a very gay woman who was known as Mr. Moms. And I would not have put it in unless I could prove it. And I got all of this stuff, and I got one of her Christmas cards where she's sort of dressed as a guy, and she's like this. And it says, Happy Holidays from Mr. Moms. And they talked about the fact that she'd have all these women on her arm, but she started that character when she was in her early 20s and played that character all the way into her 70s when she died, and was quite open about everything she did. But she was like nobody else, and I just thought that sometime somebody should make an award for her. They have the Lucille Ball Award, they have the Comedy Awards. There should be a Mom's Award for someone who is fearless in what they're doing. They do it in spite of the fact that people are going to be pissed. I think it's important for kids to have that. So maybe you can help, you know what I mean?
All right,
Maybe you
Cliff,
can
make
help
it happen, buddy.
You can spearhead that, Cliff. I have faith.
It's a terrific doc, and we said it when she sings the song at the end, because
Yeah.
as we were saying backstage, she knew 3 of those people.
She
She
knew-
knew John
she
and
knew
Martin and
them.
Bobby. So
And Abraham. Well, she didn't know Abraham.
Jack,
I,
go ahead. You can pick somebody.
You right there in the back in the middle.
Gilbert, there's a nasty rumor floating around about Cesar Romero.
Time permitting.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. And I don't like this instigation.
Jack Hoffman.
Can I get an orange juice, please? Yeah.
Jack, you have a question?
Whoopi, who makes you laugh now? Who's your favorite comedian that's out there?
Well, Chris makes me laugh. I mean, Chris Rock knocks my face off. I mean, he just does. He makes me laugh. So. Billy still makes me laugh.
Billy Connolly?
Billy Connolly, Billy Crystal,
Billy Crystal, yeah.
everybody. I don't know who's current because everybody makes me laugh in different ways. Lena Dunham makes me laugh. Amy Schumer makes me laugh, and that tall, wonderful woman on not CNN, on SNL, Leslie Jones.
Oh,
that
yeah.
bitch makes me laugh. That girl makes me have to gasp because she's just funny and her stand-up is great. I mean, yeah, I love it.
Okay, there's a man in the back also.
Did you everybody hear the questions? He said, tell me about Richard Pryor.
Yeah. Richard for me he's like Robin, he's my big brother. He was just family. And I wanted to be him. That's what I patterned myself after because I knew I was a storyteller and not a stand-up. And so Richard would tell these stories, in 1974, I think we talked about this on the show because we were talking about gun violence on the show. And I said, this is not new. Black people being afraid of the police is not new. And we played the piece where he says, listen, I said, the cop stopped me. I go, I'm putting my hand into my pocket, and we all laugh because we know what that meant, and the fact that we're still talking about it this far down tells you how insightful he was. He saw stuff, he got it, and he got it in a way where everybody could talk about it and dig it. This is why I have no fear of talking about the difference between, as I see it, between white people and black people. Because culturally, when you go to the movies, you know white people are going to die. When you go to horror movies, it's a guaranteed fat white people are going to die. But we don't go down that way because we know there's a lot of shit out there that can get you. So when you hear some shit in your attic and everything's locked up, we don't go up towards the north. Because it could be anybody. It could be a guy in a sheet. It could be anybody. So we get our keys, we get the cell phone, and we go down to the door and out. This is how Richard taught me to talk about stuff. Because it's like, here's how we can discuss things. Here's how we can talk about it. Him going to Africa talking about, it was an amazing place. I saw lots of black people, and I got into a truck, and the guy was not wearing deodorant. And the funk, when he talks about the funk coming after him, he's like trying to get away from it. It's like, oh my God, yes. And it's not just in Africa. People don't get immunized. People don't use deodorant. It's freaky.
Some in the back. I just see this gentleman here against the wall with the glasses.
Lesh.
Is that Lesh?
Yeah.
Whoopi, everybody in here is a film buff. I think they'd love to hear the Ghost Patrick Swayze casting story.
Oh.
Did you hear the Ghost Patrick Swayze casting story?
Yeah,
I feel like Ed McMahon doing the Karnak bit, repeating the...
So what happened was, a friend of mine came to my house and said, oh, I'm so tired. I said, what have you been doing? She said, I've been at this audition, girl. Every black woman and their mama has gone out for this role. Bitches got up out the grave. That's what she said, to try to get this part. And I'm thinking, I haven't heard about this part. Why don't I know about this? So I waited a day because I didn't want to be a bonehead. And I called my agent and I said, do you know about this part that all these black women are going from? And this my agent goes, oh. And I said, you do know about it? He said, yeah. I said, can I get a reading? And he was like, no, they don't want you. I was like, what? Because who didn't want me? He said, no, they feel like that you're too recognizable. You'll take people out of the movie. They don't want it. They don't want you to read. And I was like, oh, all right, well, all right. So I went on to go down to Alabama to make Long Walk Home.
Good
with
film,
Sissy
by the way.
Spacek, yeah.
See it.
And I get a call from my agent about 2 weeks into the movie. He said, you remember that movie that they didn't want you for? I said, oh, yeah. He said, well, the director wants to come down and see you. I said, what happened? He said, well, they hired an actor who doesn't understand why they haven't been to see you, and he's refusing to take the part until they rehearse you. Or not rehearse, till they test you. And he said, if she doesn't want to do it, that's one thing, but you have to at least test her. Now, I have to tell you, the casting director had been saying the same thing to the director and the writer of the piece. And they said, no. So when they got Patrick said, well, what's wrong with Whoopi Goldberg? Have you talked to her? And they were like, yeah. And he said, so you haven't, does she not want to do it? I said, well, we don't know. He said, what do you mean you don't know? This is perfect for what? He said, I'm not going to take this unless we go and audition her. So I have on all my garb because I'm dressed as a 1950s maid. I got eyebrows. I got a wig on. It's a whole freaky thing. And I said, well, okay. I said, so he wants to come down and with Patrick and do this with you. And I said, okay. Patrick who? He said, you'll see. So I go to the hotel, and he opens up the door, and he says, hi, I'm Patrick Swayze. I was like, oh, shit. I said, I'm Whoopi Goldberg. What's going on? He said, well, do you not want to do this movie? I said, well, they said they didn't want me. He said, well, let's go play. So he and I just talking and bullshit and laughing and about 40 minutes go by. I said, are we going to do a reading or something? How's this work? And Jerry Zucker, who is sitting over there, and I did not realize he was there because I just was so enamored with Patrick Swayze that when Jerry said, would you want to do this part? And I was like, can I read it? Because I don't have any idea what it is. He said, you haven't seen it? I said, no, I haven't seen anything. I don't know what it is. So he told me the story. And I look at Patrick and say, are you doing it? He said, are you doing it? I said, I'd like to do it. He said, well, if you do it, I'll do it. So I looked at Jerry Zucker and I said, can we do it together? And that's how I got that part. I would never have gotten it had it not been for Patrick saying, you have to at least meet her. Yeah. Which is why I thanked him. He's the one that I remembered to thank because, sometimes you need somebody to speak up for you. There's a man with a hand up.
Last one because they're going to kick us out. They have another show at 9:30.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Goldberg, you've had to audition for Spielberg, and you've had to stand on stage by yourself in front of 10,000 people. Which is more intimidating, and how do you get past it?
Which is more intimidating, auditioning for Steven Spielberg or standing on a stage alone?
Neither. They're both fantastic. It's like Speed. It's like you're on the front of the best 1935 Rolls Royce, and you're the figure on the front, and the car's moving really fast, and you're just like this. To me, that's what it is. I love it. It's something that makes me. It thrills me. Acting to me is thrilling. So I'm not afraid of any of it. I'm just afraid of actually just trying to be in a relationship. Now that's hard. That's hard.
You know, getting back to Richard Pryor for a second, I remember I worked for 2 weeks on this god-awful film. And it was the last of the Pryor Wilder films.
Right.
It was horrible. But Pryor could not have been nicer to me. He would come over, he would follow me around.
Yeah.
Like he was an annoying kid and I was a major star.
Yeah.
And he would go, "You are so funny, you know. I've seen everything that you do. It's so funny."
And you know he did.
Yes.
He saw everything. He saw everyone.
He knew everything.
It
Every
was the
movie I've
greatest.
been in, everything.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if we are lucky enough to have the careers that these folks had, I hope we're lucky enough to have learned how to treat the newbies coming up, to watch them and be able to give them the boost.
Nah,
that
fuck
makes
them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on that note,
Yeah. So, do you have anything to plug?
Oh, yes, the plugs. Yes, Strut.
we had,
And the sweaters. You want to talk about the sweaters?
So in my boredom, I've created ugly holiday sweaters that will be available at Lord & Taylor. We created a show called Strut, which you can see the reruns of on Oxygen, about the first transgender modeling agency. And it's extraordinary because these folks are fighting all kinds of things while trying to get their lives together. And what the show does is it explains to you what this ride is like for them in the middle of trying to find their dreams. It's an extraordinary show with extraordinary people. So watch that. And I'm doing a lot of weird shit. I'm still on the board.
Okay, so I'm Gilbert Gottfried. This has been Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast at Caroline's, where I'll be on December 23rd and 24th.
Nice.
I've been here. My co-host, Frank Santopadre.
Yay.
And we've been talking to the very nice Jewish woman, Whoopi Goldberg.
Thank you, thank you, Carolines. Thank you, Whoopi. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Larry Storch. Cliff Nesterov.